All right, White's faithful. Get yourself settled in, because what I'm about to tell you is going to have you jumping out of your seats. The international break might be here, but the drama at Leeds United never stops, does it? And trust me, what's brewing behind the scenes at Elland Road right now is massive. We're talking about 3 absolute game changers that could completely transform Daniel Farke's squad. Picture this, a world-class international midfielder who's been frozen out at one of Europe's biggest clubs and is desperate for game time before the World Cup. A crucial attacking weapon who's been missing for nearly a month and whose absence is being felt hard in our survival battle. And a controversial figure whose days in white might finally be numbered after being relegated to the bench again. Can you feel that tension building? Because this isn't just transfer gossip or injury updates. My friends, this is about Leeds United's entire season hanging in the balance. Every single one of these stories could be the difference between staying up and going back down. We're talking about survival, we're talking about hope, and we're talking about some serious decisions that need to be made. Before we dive into this absolute madness, do me a massive favor, smash that like button if you're ready for some no-nonsense Leeds United news, and hit subscribe because you're not going to want to miss what happens next. With these 3 situations, drop a comment right now telling me which position you think Leeds need to strengthen most urgently, because trust me, your opinion matters. Now, let's talk about our first bombshell, and this one involves a battle-hardened midfielder with over 100 international caps who's currently sitting on the bench at the San Siro, watching his World Cup dreams slip away with every passing week. The clock is ticking, his manager has issued a warning, and guess who's perfectly positioned to swoop in? That's right, Leeds United. But can we actually pull this off? Let's find out. Here we go, White's family. Let's talk about Piotr Zielinski. Yes, you heard that right. The 31-year-old Polish international maestro who's currently rotting on Inter Milan's bench and staring down the barrel of missing the World Cup. This is the caliber of player we're talking about here. 101 caps for Poland, a Serie A champion. A midfielder who averaged 0.19 goals per game last season with a mind-blowing 90.5% passing accuracy. This isn't some championship hopeful, this is elite European quality. But here's where it gets juicy. Jan Urban, Poland's national team manager, has basically thrown down the gauntlet. He's told FC Internews that if Zielinski doesn't start getting minutes soon, we'll be looking at a difficult situation come November. Translation: if the big man doesn't play, he's going to lose his rhythm, lose his sharpness, and potentially lose his place in Poland's World Cup squad. Can you imagine being in Zielinski's shoes right now? You're 31 years old, you've got 101 caps, and you're watching the biggest tournament of your career slip away because Simone Inzaghi won't give you a start. This season, Zielinski has made just 3 Serie A appearances, all of them from the bench. The only time he's started was in the Champions League against Slavia Praha. For a player of his quality, that's basically criminal. He signed from Napoli in 2024 expecting to be a key player, and instead he's watching from the sidelines. Now, here's where Leeds United comes into the picture, and this is huge. Daniel Farke is actively looking for midfield reinforcements in January. We need quality, we need experience, and we need someone who can control games in the Premier League. And guess what? Zielinski ticks every single box. At Elland Road, he wouldn't just get game time, he'd be guaranteed to start. He'd be playing in the best league in the world, showcasing his abilities week in, week out, keeping himself sharp for the World Cup. Think about what this man brings to the table. He creates 1.30 chances per game. He wins 57% of his duels. He's a complete midfielder who can score, assist, and dictate tempo. In our current relegation battle, a player like Zielinski could be the difference between staying up and going down. Imagine him pulling the strings in midfield, spraying passes around Elland Road, creating chances for our attackers. The Leeds faithful would love him. But here's the thing, we're not the only ones who can see this opportunity. If we don't move fast in January, another club is going to swoop in and grab him. Time is of the essence, and Farke knows it. The January window could define our entire season, and landing Zielinski would be an absolutely massive statement of intent. But wait, there's more drama to unpack. Because while we're trying to bring in world-class talent, we're also dealing with injury chaos that's left Daniel Farke pulling his hair out. And this next story, it's about a young star who's been missing from our attack for nearly a month. and his absence is being felt hard. Stick with me because this is where things get even more intense. Right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say, the elephant not in the room. Willy Nanto, the 21-year-old Italian speedster who's been invisible for Leeds United for nearly a month. And I don't mean invisible because he's playing badly. I mean literally not there because of a calf injury that just won't go away. The last time we saw Nando in action was against Fulham, coming off the bench. Since then, nothing. He's been stuck at Thorpe Arch, watching from the sidelines while Leeds have struggled in his absence. In the 3 games without him, we've won 1, drawn 1, and lost 1, including that painful 2-1 defeat to Tottenham. And you can feel the difference when he's not on that pitch. This kid started 3 of our opening FOU or Premier League games. He was becoming a crucial part of Farke's plans. His pace, his directness, his ability to take on defenders. It's exactly what we need in this survival battle. But that calf problem, it's been a nightmare. And what makes it even worse is that Farke is clearly worried about rushing him back. Listen to what the gaffer said before the Spurs game. His calf problems are not sorted. He is not back in team training, and there is no chance to involve him. He will also sadly just be back after this upcoming international break. So not available for Tottenham. That's brutal. Not even back in training. That tells you how serious this injury is and how concerned the medical team are about a potential recurrence. Calf injuries are tricky. White's family. Rush a player back too soon, and you risk them being out for even longer. But keep them out too long, and they lose sharpness, rhythm, and confidence. It's a balancing act, and right now, Leeds are being ultra cautious with their young Italian star. The good news: there is light at the end of the tunnel. If Farke's timeline is accurate, Nanto could be back for the clash against Burnley on October 18th. That's in just 10 days. If that comes too soon, we're looking at the West Ham game on October 24th, which would mean he's been out for 41 days. 6 weeks without one of your key attackers in a relegation battle. That's huge. But here's what really matters. When Nanto comes back, we need him sharp. We've got massive games coming up. Burnley, West Ham, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa. These are the matches that will define our season. Every point matters. Every goal matters. And having a fully fit Willy Nanto tearing down that wing, taking on defenders, creating chaos in the opposition box, that could be the difference between 3 points and 1 point between survival and disaster. The Whites faithful are desperate to see number 29 back in action. The international break might actually be a blessing in disguise, giving him extra time to recover properly without missing crucial league games. But the clock is ticking and we need him back. And speaking of players and their futures at Elland Road, buckle up for this final revelation because it's going to divide opinion massively among the Leeds fan base. We're talking about a player who returned this summer to mixed reactions, who's been relegated to impact sub-duty despite being a natural winger, and whose days in white might finally be numbered. Are you ready for this? Because the Jack Harrison saga is about to reach its conclusion. All right, White's family, let's address the most controversial topic of all, Jack Harrison. And look, I know just mentioning his name is going to have half of you cheering and the other half groaning. But hear me out because this situation is fascinating. Harrison's return to Leeds this summer was met with boos at Elland Road. The fans haven't forgotten, have they? His time at Everton, the way things went down, there's history there, and it's not pretty. But Daniel Farke brought him back anyway, trying to give him another chance in the white shirts. Here's the reality check though. Despite Dan James and Willy Nanto both being injured, Farke has chosen to deploy Brendan Aronson on the wing instead of Harrison. Let that sink in. Harrison is a natural winger who's played in the Premier League for years, and yet the manager is choosing other options. He's been relegated to impact sub-duty, coming off the bench in most games. And let's be honest, the level of impact he's making can be seriously questioned. Ian Dark dropped an absolute bomb exclusively to Mott Leeds News. He said, Leeds use Harrison in most games off the bench. I know he has a chorus of boo boys who still can't forgive him for 1 or 2 things in the past. But it's possible with a player like that who's been around the Premier League, that they could get an offer from somewhere else. Obviously, for the right price, I think they'd let him go because he's not going to be a starter. He's always going to be off the bench. There it is. Confirmation that Leeds would not stand in his way if the right offer comes in January. They'd let him walk. And you know what? Looking at his recent record, can you really blame them? Let's look at the cold, Hard numbers this season: 7 games, 0 goals, 0 assists. Last season at Everton, 38 games, 1 goal, 0 assists. 2-0-3 for goals, 3 assists. His best season was 2020-23 with 6 goals and 10 assists, but that was 2 years ago. The production just isn't there anymore. Sure, Harrison is a grafter. He works hard, he tracks back, he puts in a shift. That's valuable in a relegation battle. But in the Premier League, you need quality. You need players who can create moments of magic, who can score goals, who can change games. And right now, Harrison isn't providing that. He's 28 years old, and the harsh reality is that he might not be Premier League quality anymore. Here's the business side. If Leeds sell Harrison in January, they might not get a huge fee. But what they will do is clear his wages off the books. That money can then be reinvested into the squad, potentially helping to fund a move for someone like Piotr Zielinski. It's about being smart with resources, especially when you're in a relegation battle. The writing is on the wall, White's family. Farke's team selection tells us everything we need to know. When you're not starting ahead of players who aren't even natural wingers. When the manager keeps leaving you on the bench despite injuries to other attackers. When transfer experts are openly saying the club would sanction your exits. That's a pretty clear message. So here we are at the crossroads. Harrison could move on in January, potentially to a club where he'd get more game time. Leeds would free up wages and potentially bring in fresh talent. It might be the best solution for everyone involved. But the question is, will a suitable offer come in? And if it does, will Leeds use that money wisely to strengthen the squad? The final word: Leeds United at a critical crossroads. White's faithful. We've just walked through 3 absolutely massive situations that could shape the rest of Leeds United's season. Think about it. A world-class midfielder desperate for game time before the World Cup. And we're in pole position to grab him. A crucial young attacker who's been out for a month, but should be back soon to inject pace and directness into our attack. And a controversial figure whose departure could free up resources for January reinforcements. This isn't just about individual stories, this is about the bigger picture. This is about Daniel Farke making critical decisions that will determine whether Leeds United survives in the Premier League. Every transfer decision, every injury update, every squad selection matters right now. If we can land Zielinski in January, get Nando back to full fitness, and make smart decisions about players like Harrison, we could transform this season. We could go from fighting relegation to building a solid mid-table foundation. But if we get these decisions wrong, if we miss out on Zielinski to a rival, if Nanto's injury problems continue, if we hold onto players who aren't contributing, then we're in serious trouble. Before you go, do me one last favor. Smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications because the next few months are going to be insane at Elland Road. Hit that like button if you want to see Piotr Zielinski in a Leeds United shirt. And most importantly, get down in the comments right now and tell me, do you think Leeds should go all in for Zielinski in January? What do you expect from Nanto when he returns? And is it finally time to let Jack Harrison move on for good? The future of Leeds United is being written right now, and every single one of you is part of this journey. The Whites are in a battle, but if we make the right moves, if we stay united, if we believe, we can survive this storm and come out stronger, marching on together.